I mean, the difference is in part in their motivation here, but what do you make of that contrast?
Well, I think the real question here, Alicia, is are presidents going to be living as a criminal class, allowed to do whatever they feel like, and the rest of us Americans have to abide by laws that are extremely different from that? That's the question here. Is there equal justice in this country? You know, in the Constitutional Convention, the original idea was that there might be a pardon power given to a president if there was a miscarriage of justice, or if someone really needed mercy and was really very penitent about, you know, what he or she had done. Alexander Hamilton was the one who said this has to be a unilateral big power of a president. President has to be able to do this alone, not confirmed by the Senate. You know, some said if a president pardons, the Senate has to confirm that. So the result is that presidents have made this almost into a free crime zone. Richard Nixon committed serious felonies for which he almost certainly would have gone to prison. He was pardoned by Gerald Ford. Nixon showed very little contrition. He soon said, if a president does something, that means it's not illegal. And even after that, he said that he had been railroaded and should never have been driven out of office in the first place.
I have to tell you, so much of what you said between saying Constitutional Convention and then Alexander Hamilton reminded me that half of what I know about history is informed by musicals, because when you said Constitutional Convention, all I could hear was Lin-Manuel Miranda saying, I was chosen for the Constitutional Convention. When you talk about Ford pardon Nixon, then what do you think the lesson is today?
The lesson to presidents like Donald Trump and others since then has been that presidents live in a stratosphere that other Americans don't. That if you commit a crime and if after you leave office, as Nixon was in danger of doing, you are indicted and you are in danger of going to prison, the Nixon president shows that you will probably be given a pardon by someone, or you will be let off because the country can't stand it. What I would say is what the country cannot stand is presidents committing terrible crimes and getting off scot-free and encouraging later presidents to do the same thing.
Let's talk about Joe Biden for a second, because it strikes me that as we're sitting here talking about a Republican field that is being dominated by Trump, by Trumpism, by conversations about pardons for Donald Trump, you have President Joe Biden out on the stump today with union members touting his economic accomplishments. And I got to tell you, the split screen, I know we got a lot of split screens, but this one really reminded me of what a unique moment in history we find ourselves in, where the Democratic frontrunner is focusing on the substantive accomplishments of his first term, and the Republican frontrunner is under indictment and somehow has enough power to get all the other candidates talking about whether or not they're going to pardon him.
Right. It's like the kind of thing you used to see in a corrupt local government, and sometimes people would run for mayor on things like that. Whoever thought that we would have that in the presidency? But the point is that we Americans only get great presidential leadership if presidents are afraid, if they cross certain lines, that they will one day go to jail. If you take away that fear, we're going to see other presidents, and maybe Trump, if he comes back to office, do things that make the period of 2017 to 2021 and all of the offenses against democracy that Donald Trump committed, they will make that look like a picnic.
Michael Beschloss, I have about 30 seconds left, but I want to ask you about Juneteenth 2021. It became our first new federal holiday since the 1980s. Sure, the significance of that, especially in light of conservative efforts in this country to limit what kids can learn about our country's history.
African-American history is American history, and it took this country 2 centuries plus to learn that. Juneteenth started in Texas in 1865 when Black people were liberated under the victory of the Union Army. But it was not until Joe Biden signed something in 2021 that became a national holiday. Many people celebrated that before then, but they were largely Black people. Now all of us can celebrate Juneteenth and learn its important lessons.